All right, we are the Dooley Band, and this is our podcast. So I'm Mick.
I'm Claire.
Jim.
Mike.
And very excited to be going over some musical history of Chicago today and of the band. So we're going to start it off by playing this song, Traveler's Tune, which is, when I was listening to the band in my younger years too, it was always one of my favorites just to listen to. And this recording is absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to toss it on, listen to a little bit of it. We won't listen to the whole thing.
So many faces and places I've seen, so many good times I wanted for me. Some were nice, but they're gone, gone, gone. Sometimes weren't right and they're gone, 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 where they belong.
All right, just wanted to get a little feel for that. Take the headphones off there. But that
was a song that was written by one of the original members of the band, Joe Dooley. He wrote that. We used to do a lot of traveling together. Joe and I were once traveling together in Ireland, and we decided to split up at some point. We'd been over there for a long time, and he went up to the north. I went south, and we said, we're going to meet on a certain Tuesday at noon on top of this hill right here. And so we split off. And then sure enough, that next Tuesday, I was on top of the hill waiting. Nobody showed up until later in the afternoon. Then I looked way down the road and I saw Joe coming. I hope it was Joe. He had a cape, kind of a cape looking thing, and the wind was blowing. His guitar strung on his back, and came up and walked up the hill, and he played this song for me, Traveler's Tune. So that's where that came from. And
When was that,
a lot
Jim?
of different things through the years.
Was that in the mid-'70s or something like that?
About 71, I believe.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, at least that, 71. And we came back and worked on that in a lot of different versions through the years. And this one was the one you played from an album of ours called Black Sunshine. And he had some great players on that. We had a great mandolin and guitar player. John Rice played with us on that one.
Dobro, too?
Mm-hmm.
And Dobro, too? Sounds like
Yeah,
Toto,
I
too.
think so.
Well, the vocals on that are just extraordinary, and with the four brothers,
Yeah.
and Joe
Yeah,
and
we
Bill and
played,
you two, and
That
having
blend.
Yeah, there's a lot of harmony that comes up later that we didn't hear right there. But
I always thought of that as it's like a true American folk song. I mean, he wrote it in Ireland, and it's really about traveling and all this great stuff. So
yeah, you wrote it in G tuning, which I always found fascinating. You had heard a girl he was going out with playing in G tuning, just open strings, And so that's how he started that song. And then he used to do a Bob Dylan type thing with a harmonica around his neck, and it was fun.
yeah,
A lot of versions of that song. Of
Yeah.
course, Joe plays auto harp on that.
Yeah,
It's
and he plays
beautiful
auto harp.
on that.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun song to perform today. It's
We
it's always
do
a
it.
great
We
feeling.
still do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
the new version.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I wanted to just kick things off and kind of go back to the beginning after we got a little taste of the music. Just generally, what was, I guess this isn't really a general song, but general question, but what was the first song you ever remember hearing? Is there a moment, do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was Rockabye Baby. I knew right then.
Well, I could tell you, the first song I ever remember hearing, this is a true story, was Blues My Naughty Sweetie off your guys' album. And I would run around it's a song that like speeds up, and I would run around the house listening.
Faster and faster. I
Faster
know
and
that.
faster.
about-
That was only 2 years ago, too. That was the funny part about that. But no, I'm kidding. When you're a little toddler running around.
Well,
Mike,
actually, in the 1950s, when Jim and I were growing up in our household there, we had a bunch of brothers there and our mom and dad. But our mom used to play piano, and she she played a song called Pony Boy. Pony boy, won't you be my pony boy? I think it's from the 20s probably. And she would play piano, and she would play, like this kind of, I don't know what kind of style it was, but she had her own particular style. She would play like the highest keys and the lowest notes on the piano.
Barrel house piano.
Yeah, barrel house. That's what I was searching for that. But I remember that, and I also remember back then the big thing was the radio of the popular songs of the day. We didn't have a record player at the time, so we had one family radio, and we'd have it tuned to like the 50s doo-wop stuff. And I remember Elvis's "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound," one of the first songs.
Heartbreak Hotel, yes.
And then finally we got a record player, and one of our brothers brought home an album of the Kingston Trio. Hey, there's this great new group just came out. It's about 1958, Jim, 59. Yep. And I always remember there was a song on there that really stuck in my head. It was a fast song called "Rockabye, Rockabye, Rockabye, oh, Rockabye, my Sarah Jane." For some reason, that song stuck in my head when I was like a real little kid.
Yeah, Tom had seen, our oldest brother Tom went to Notre Dame, and he saw the Kingston Trio in concert there. And that's when he bought it. And then he also came back at the same time. He brought 2 records back, Kingston Trio's first album and Nat King Cole, called "Love Is a Thing." It was the name of the album. It has Stardust on it and stuff. So that combination of those 2 really just blew us away at the time, I remember.
So what was the very earliest song you remember?
The very earliest song I remember is, I remember listening to my mom's Victrola. She had a lot of 20s and 30s, 78s. And I remember a song called "What Are You Waiting For, Mary?" and also "Beautiful Changes." They were by Paul Whiteman. And I heard the singer. I'm going, man, this guy's really kind of cool. I was really about 3 at the time. And then I heard the trumpet, which was a cornet actually, and I just fell in love with that sound of that 20s stuff. And many years later, I found out that was the singer was Bing Crosby, and the soloist was Bix Beiderbecke, and that just totally changed my life. Hearing that stuff, but yeah, through the years, we were in such a musical family. 6 boys. My mom was an artist. My father did the colorist thing for the Tribune for Dick Tracy and all these
Sunday comics, yeah.
And Little Orphan Annie and Gasoline Alley. And so our whole family was really musical. And we would, my mom would play piano, we'd sit around and sing songs. We thought every family did that, that's the way life was. And we just did that a lot, just for fun. And then we do all kinds of music, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, rock stuff even. And my brother Joe and Bill used to imitate opera voices, Markushla, with John McCormick, the famous old opera singer. And we do opera songs and stuff like that. So that's how we first really got going.
Yeah. Well, Dad, you carried that right, into my childhood as well as my brother Jimmy's childhood, definitely. My dad would play just a ton of like Bix Beiderbecke growing up. I definitely remember that. I also remember Debussy. This is when I was really, really little, but it would just make me, so calm. I hope I wasn't running and screaming around too much.
This is when you were sitting in your high chair, I was feeding you. You'd be playing this.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of Beatles growing up too. That was definitely.
Yeah, of course. We have to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's a given right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, moving back to the 50s, though, one of the big turning points was when our father, one Christmas, bought a Webcore tape recorder, a reel-to-reel tape recorder.
This was 1956.
And he probably took about a month worth of his wages to be able to afford that. It was really a sacrifice. He didn't tell us that at the time, but we realized that much later. But he brought that in. One of our oldest brothers, or our oldest brother Tom, said he claims responsibility for that because he talked our dad into it, because he said, oh, this way we won't have to buy records. We just tape everything off the radio and listen back. And so I guess our dad thought economically that was good.
Yeah.
But he
also knew
he heard that we were singing and everything, and wanted
us singing a lot
to tape all that.
So
stuff.
yeah, he got that. That was in a big watershed moment for us, because the first day we had it, we started to put on plays, skits, interviews, talk shows, and singing stuff. We said, okay, Mickey, now you sing a song. And you sang, it was a Christmas time song. And
The French song?
Yeah, the French
we
Christmas
did a
Carol,
French song. Yeah, it was one of the first times I heard you do that.
Wow.
So we went nuts with this tape recorder and just went crazy doing it. It was like we were off and running. And that's when we started my brothers. Well, let's just say, first of all, there were 6 boys: Tom, Dennis, Joe, Bill, me, and Mike. And my brothers Joe and Bill and I were at grammar school at the same time. We would come home at lunchtime, and we had started to really dig all the doo-wop stuff, coasters and silhouettes and everybody. And so we'd come home and start recording during lunchtime. We'd run in and we made up a group named Sadie and the Juniors. It was a takeoff on Danny and the Juniors. And Joe had this low froggy voice. He would do the bass parts. And we did Come Go With Me, and we even did Zorro, and Lollipop, oh, la. A lot of quartets, and a lot of different groups like that.
We have to imagine, too, these guys had really high voices.
Yeah.
They're kids, so they had like really high voices singing these songs, like about an octave or 2 higher than the way they did it on the radio. So that was except
it was
Joe's
not long after that Bill and I got the measles at the same time. And back then, I don't know if they still do this kind of stuff nowadays, we had to stay in a dark room for 2 weeks. We couldn't go out of this room, the blinds drawn. So all we could do was listen to the radio. And that was right during that same time period. And so we would hear all these songs over and over and over again. Get a job, cha-da-da-da. And that's how we really got into it finally, because we were listening to that all the time. And so we started singing that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was that. And then our oldest brother, Tom, used to play ukulele, too. And he would play these songs, and especially you and Bill and Joe would look at, I want to do that, too. So these guys would get a hold of the ukulele and start playing, things like that. And gradually that snowballed into other stuff.
Then Bill came along and really brought the uke up to he was really good. This is about 7th grade, maybe. And we got a hold of a bunch of ukulele Ike books with Cliff Edwards on uke. And he had all these old songs from the 20s and 30s. He did. Big popular singer back in the day. And so Bill would play all that stuff. He picked it up right away. And I'm going, man, this is incredible. And so he brought it to St. Luke's and he played it for his girlfriend there. This girl he's trying to go out with or something. And she really liked it.
Was that Katie Farmer?
Oh, full names.
Huh? No names. I give names. Well, first name was Katie. Katie. And so I saw this and I'm going, wow, this is really cool. So Katie had a sister, and I really liked her a lot. And I was trying to. It's not like we were trying to go out with. We were in 7th grade and that stuff. But I said, well, I can do that too. And she said, oh, really? Well, come over tomorrow night and could you play a few songs for me at my house? I said, sure. And I had no idea. So I had to run home, start playing the uke, figuring out stuff really fast. So I got about 3 songs down.
That is such a good story.
as we all know, as male musicians, one of the reasons why you're playing music is to impress the girls. And so,
what can he say?
So I was happy for that.
Yeah.
And so I started playing uke, and then I really liked it a lot and just kept going from there.
Was that the famous, I think I heard you tell a story one time that you saw Bill, or was it Bill or Tom, playing the uke, and just someone goes, what's that?
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I was looking at them. I just watched these guys play, and I'd try and copy what they were doing. Then Tom got a banjo, got a 4-string banjo, and he would play that as well. Some old songs. When the Saints go marching in, and they cut down the old pine tree. There was another one. Yeah.
And they hauled it away to the mill.
Yeah.
I remember that.
To build a coffin of pine for that sweetheart of mine.
Well, they cut down
And
that
then
old
there's
pine tree.
what other songs like that? I've got shoes, you got shoes, all God's children got shoes. and so we'd sing those songs together. So we kind of took it over. Tom went back to school. Bill started really playing a lot. Then I started playing with Bill and double uke stuff. We didn't get to guitars yet. So I think the next phase, if you want to go into that, was our Barbershop Quartet stuff we started singing. My brother Dennis went to Loyola Lakeshore campus, and with some people there, he got together and they started doing some barbershop stuff. And he came back with that, and we were just really blown away by the 4-part harmony stuff. We've always liked harmony. That's been our foundation of our band, is our harmony. And we were blown away by that, and we started to do it. Joe, Dennis, Bill, and me. And the mic was really little, so he just finally came in doing it too. And we sat there and started singing barbershop stuff and figuring it all out on our own, which I highly recommend for any group that wants to sing harmony. Is that's a good way to do it, because you're doing it a cappella. It's right out in front of you, and there's no room for error. You hear yourself right away.
Yeah.
So we all figured it out as we were going along, and we every once in a while you'd hit some chord that was perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, but you'd hit some chord that had this great blend as one, and you just go. That was called milking a chord, we would call it, and you hit that chord, and you'd stay there, and then wow. To this day, I do that whenever I'm singing harmony. You hit some nice chord, So
I was talking with Uncle Dennis about this, and he remembered it was 1960, and oldest brother Tom was getting married, and apparently you guys took a trip out to Minnesota.
Yes,
if I'm not
St.
mistaken.
Paul.
Yeah.
And so, according to Dennis, you guys were kind of given an arranger. They said, "Oh, we're going to learn." Someone said you're going to learn a song. I don't know if it was Dennis.
It was. I wouldn't trade the silver in my mother's hair for all the gold in the world.
There it is. And do you remember the story the same way as Dennis said? Basically, you sung the song. No one knew you were going to sing it. And it's at this wedding, and you just said, "Okay, we're going to sing this song for your mother," and whose husband had passed away the year before. And then you sung the song, and everyone was like blown away. That's what he said.
Yeah, we sat out in the car right before we went into the reception, and for about a half hour, and figured it out on the spot. Where we really got it down. And it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty
That's crazy.
darn
On
good.
the spot at
Yeah.
that young age, you're already
Yeah.
able to just figure out.
Well, it's the old story. That's with music. You got to do that. Something you work. You're actually the Beatles always talked about that, Paul McCartney and Lennon, that under pressure they actually wrote better, or most of the time.
Well, you
got 2 weeks to come up with 7 songs.
You get the adrenaline going when you're under
so
pressure.
you get your adrenaline moving.
It's like when you're doing a term paper, you always wait till the last minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you get it down and you start doing it.
Yeah. Well, probably the next phase after the barbershop, though, is all the Kingston trio and the folk thing really came in strong back then.
Yeah. But I would do one more thing about the harmony before we go on. For those of people who might be listening to this, or I tell this to Claire and my son Jimmy, is with harmony, the important thing is to be when you look at the people, and I realize this, you look at their lips, the people you're singing with, get close together when you're working stuff out, look at their lips and listen to what they're doing. And then blend in with that, as opposed to, here is my part, I am going to do it like this. You watch the other people, totally watch the other people, and look in their eyes and stuff, And that's how you really can learn harmony a lot better than if you're just on your own trying to figure out your part. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of slip into it. You've got to have some kind of ability to do that, obviously talent, to really sing perfectly. But you slip into that thing,
No, it's a
connection, yeah.
That's the whole thing, too, with the Kingston Trio and the Beatles. They used to just sing around one microphone.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the folk groups. And because you really hear each other that way,
When we first had our folk groups and stuff, that's what we did, too. We had one mic and 3 people singing around it.
Your heads would be really close.
So you'd look for the certain level of where to put your guitar. A lot of bluegrass groups did
They
this
still do
day,
that, yeah.
obviously. And
Yeah.
but so you'd find your own levels, and that taught you to listen to everybody around you, what's going on, as opposed to just, hey man, I'm going to do this. You listen to everybody when you're performing, who's on stage, and make sure you're blending with them, as opposed to this is me and good luck everybody else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the listening part.
Yeah.
Great advice. And and okay, Uncle Jim, this is kind of on that subject a little bit, but I was always curious so was there a time that you really just all of a sudden got not serious, but just went, kind of a little bit wild learning guitar to like learn all those songs? Because I mean, how many songs do you think you know? I remember just to set the stage, I remember we were
Millions.
so for Uncle Tom's 80th birthday, Claire, this was 2019, I think. And, we went out there, and I happened to be out there as well. And I remember, so we were out there for 4 or 5 days. Mm-hmm. And so we would just do something at night or during the day. And then at night, though, the big thing was we would all get together, and, Dan and Tom and John Dooley, they were all excited to be hanging out. So we would just sing songs for like,
3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah.
And basically, so we're all sitting around and singing in a big circle. Mm-hmm. And so, Bill was there, and myself and Tom's kids sometimes. But so I just remember there were no repeats in about 5 nights. That's one thing I was consciously thinking about all the songs, just picking out all these old songs from 1960s. Probably maybe you hadn't played in, decades, and just playing them perfectly. And
I don't know about perfect.
Well, playing them. Well, I guess we didn't know, right? We didn't know, but I think
it was those 6 beers you had.
But so, anyways, but I guess the point being, so how many songs do you think you know by heart?
God, I would
1,000?
Thousands probably.
I don't know how many I know it full all the way through, but pretty much a lot. I mean, but then again, you go back. We've been doing this for so long.
Yeah, it's really ingrained.
When we first started playing, as Claire, you do this now. I've noticed. Mick, I noticed you do this now. We played all the time, day and night, wherever we were playing music. And we would try anything, not just with the mind of performing it, but just because we liked it. So we try and figure out songs. So we were constantly playing all kinds of weird stuff that we probably never would do in the future on stage or something, but just for our own enjoyment. Because that is, to me, one of the big things about being a musician. And I've talked with other musicians about this, and they go, yeah, you're right. It's not the total answer, but when you're a musician for a lot of years, you're trying to get back to that first year you were playing music and you discovered how to play. The first time you played an F chord, the barred the F chord, and it came out. And you go, wow. That's the feeling the rest of your life you're striving to get back to, is that nice feeling.
Like beginner's mind.
I remember lying on the floor in the living room and playing guitar when I was first learning guitar. And I discovered about drop D tuning, which to this day is my favorite thing in the world. And I turned the bottom string down to D, and I strummed the D chord, and I couldn't believe how it sounded. And I put my ear up to it and listened on the wood, and just let it ring out like the end of A Day in the Life with the Beatles or something, dun, and just let it ring out for the longest till I couldn't hear anything anymore. And to me, that was like the most beautiful sound in the world. And that, to this day, is what I'm striving to get whenever I play music, is that feeling of that first time I hit that chord.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Amen. No,
Well, Jim, I remember when we were kids, and one year, this is after the Kingston Trio, all the folk stuff was out, you were learning how to play. And then one summer, you were playing day and night. I remember that. I was like, stop it. He'd be up in his bedroom with banjo and guitar, and he just went light years ahead of where he had been previously by a couple of months. How old were you? Do you remember that one summer? It was
Yeah,
a hot,
probably.
it was
I
a
was
hot
just
summer.
going into
We didn't
high
have air
school, maybe.
conditioning, and
Just
it was,
going into high school.
everybody sweating and everything. But
Yeah.
but there was that one summer where you just all of a sudden you were just a maniac playing everything.
Well, it's like that when you. Once again, I'm talking from the guitar point of view and not other instruments, but it can be applied to different instruments. But it's that first time that you walk. There's a certain amount of levels you get to whenever you're playing. I'm still looking for the next level, but that first time you open that door and walk through, and you discover you can do stuff, and it just blows you away. And that's when I went nuts. When I figured out, hey, I can do this, and then I figured out how to. This is before, by the way, obviously all the online stuff and YouTube.
The YouTube, yeah.
The YouTube contraptions.
Well,
they have
the
nowadays.
YouTube kind of holds your hand now. If anything you want, the chords are out.
But we would sit there back then, and other guitarists and musicians I knew did this. You'd sit there and put on a record, and you listen to some riff or something, and then you take the needle off and try and figure out in your mind, what strings was he playing, you know? Da, da, da. Then you put it back down the same place, and you had to do it 5 times before you got every string, let's say a chord you're looking for. And so that's how you learn. And that, nowadays it's so neat. People show you, here's how to do it. But it's like a GPS on a car now. You don't think about where you're going anymore, like how to get to a place, because it's all in front of you. They tell you how to do it.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
At the Burger King. But back then it was like you had to figure all this stuff out, and that's really good for your mind and gives you a good foundation. Young lady, remember that.
Hey.
Get the proper foundation.
Well, you guys have found the same. Don't you find that now with what you're doing when you're playing guitar?
I find that it's like going slower is actually faster, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like if I'd say, oh, I'm going to practice like a bunch of songs, take it in a couple hours, want to fit all these songs in, as opposed to if I just say, you know what, I'm going to play this song a bunch of times, or just say, you know what, I'm going to write one song right now, and then I just do that. It ends up being way more productive. That's the way I find it.
Yeah,
Well,
I was just going to say, I definitely remember my brother Jimmy, great, fantastic guitarist. He would always tell me, slow down, when you're learning, especially the guitar, and with singing too, but, especially when you're just starting guitar. And, you probably have those moments where you're like, oh, I can do this, and I could do it this fast and everything. And that's great, but to get the feel for it in order, for things to stay consistent, and then to, like you said, Mickey, to then move on, you do have to start slow. And it's obviously, a better process that way. It's more satisfying that way. Even though it's hard, I still struggle today. I got to slow down a bit.
And Uncle Jim, I've heard you give this advice just generally, I don't know to who, but it was someone, if you want to become a really, I want to learn how to play guitar. I've heard you say, well, why don't you just learn one song, and then that way you have one song you can be proud of instead of having different segments of songs.
It's one philosophy. When I used to teach guitar a long time ago, I would always ask the first day, why do you want to play guitar? There's probably some song you really want. Man, if I could only play Blackbird, man, or whatever it is. And so I would go right for the jugular with that, and I'd say, okay, I'm going to figure out, maybe not Blackbird, whatever song it was. I'd figure out a simpler version of it and give that to the person to learn that I knew that they could struggle through. And that gives you hope to go on, when you do that.
It gives you
hope to go on when you can actually play a song as opposed to like sitting there going through all these, which is good too. But it's nice to give confidence or hope right away, get a result. I
mean, you're having the date later, so you can play the one song. Or what are you going to do with a bunch of segments of songs?
Only do part of it or whatever, or if it's
I'll just play one
version, But to get back to another thing about instruments too, like the important thing to me has always been with music, with playing guitar and with singing. It's not just in every song there's these major moments of where the big note is, but it's that note is really important, obviously, but it's the notes around it, the ones that hold it together to like a mounting on a ring or something of a diamond. Those are the ones that count. And those are the ones that people always slip over. I do it too.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you're thinking about that, hitting that big, important note in the song. But if you put the other ones, this one and this one, really good, that's going to make that one so much better, you know? And it's like that with guitar playing. When you're playing a riff or whatever on the guitar, you don't just hit the, you know, all that stuff. You got to do the lead and stuff, the stuff behind it and in front of it to give it validity. Because anybody can do the land of the free. You can always do that. But it's of the free and those are important notes. That legitimizes, and people's brain, whatever they hear that, it makes it better for them when they're listening to it.
Definitely.
They're all important.
So, Dad, what about you? This is kind of the similar vein of that question. Was there a time when you really just went wild and learned like bass? And you're just like, okay, I'm playing this every day.
It's a funny thing about that. I used to play guitar, and I played guitar for a long time, and just, you know, and I had fun with it playing. But then I kind of stopped playing for a little while. But then when I got to be, I don't know, around end of high school or beginning of college, Joe and Jim and Bill had the group going already for a few years. You know, they had their group. They were playing out places, and so they said, Mike, come on, you got to join up the group. I said, well, you guys all play guitars. It's kind of a silly. Should we have 4 guitars playing? That doesn't make any sense. So Joe had been to Europe, and he picked up a Hofner bass, which is the type
Beetle
of bass.
bass.
A Beetle bass. That's the kind Paul McCartney had. So it was
cool.
a hollow-bodied bass. And so he said, Mike, you just play this. I have this amp here. You can use it.
I think we still have it.
So I just started playing, learning bass, and that's how I got into it. You know, it was. Plus, you know, when you're playing out in a club, you need a bass in a club to set the bottom for the whole sound. Otherwise, everything is going to get lost. You know, if you have a bass there, a bass and someone playing the bass, then everything. It's like Jim says. It's like the frame or whatever for the.
Yeah.
You know, you need to have that, you know, in there. So that's how I started playing bass and kind of singing background stuff, and gradually got into it like that.
Yeah, it's just always been interesting to me how the brothers, even your older brothers, like really paved the way, and then you all took it and run with it. It was like, and every time when I talked to Tom, I called Uncle Tom a couple weeks ago and was just chatting with him, and he's like, oh yes, I brought a banjo back, and he's like, oh, the records, yeah, I brought those back. And then, you know, you had the benefit of having all these musical elements. And then even, you know, Dennis did a little bit too with you guys, right? Too. Dennis sang a lot with you guys.
Well, I just want to mention with Dennis, well, back in the 50s, well, we had the tape deck, but we didn't have a good record player. We had like some little, like an old Victrola with a horn or whatever. But Dennis, to his credit, he went out and he bought this really nice stereo. And so guys started bringing records home of all different kinds of music, of, you know, barbershop and classical show tunes and everything. And one of the reasons we kept playing for so long is that we all listened to the same type of music when we were young.
Yeah.
Because it was like a monopoly, you know. Everybody, hey, do you mind if I put this record on? Because we'd all be sitting in the living room, so everybody had to, okay. So we'd all hear the same songs and the same type of music.
It's like a
growing
collective
up
experience.
with that. So then we all,
You know, Dennis also played clarinet. He played clarinet at the Fenwick High School marching band, and Joe played sax in the same band. I was going to play trumpet. I never went on with it, but cornet. But Dennis loved Benny Goodman. And there was a big Benny Goodman revival when they put out the movie in the 50s. So we went out and bought all these Benny Goodman records. That was yet another kind of music that we were being indoctrinated with, you know. I mean, that was the neatest thing about growing up in our family. is we had so many musical influences: classical, 20s and 30s, rock and roll, folk music, swing music. So
Our brother Bill was the one that went. He went to Weebolt's and got a Barbershop Quartet.
and then Bill got a
We never really
Barbershop.
heard that. Oh,
Yeah.
I got this really cool album. Let's listen to it. So,
Yeah, and to this day, I mean, that's my favorite harmony when I hear some of that stuff. And not just the corny stuff, but this really incredible harmonies these people can hit, and they're all in tune. Just fantastic.
Was that the LP of the Society for the Preservation and Encouragement
That's why, yeah.
of Barbershop
Yeah, right.
Quartets in America?
Yeah.
I
And then we went to a few of their, they
quite
would
the
have
name.
conventions and concerts. And they had one in Chicago, I think with the auditorium, I believe, or McCormick Place or somewhere. And everybody in the audience was a member of that. Then there was like about 2,000 or 3,000 people. And we're sitting there and they said, okay, now we'd like everybody to sing here. And then we did like the old Mill Stream, some very simple one that everybody knew us. There was certain stock arrangements they had. So they all sang it. Like 2,000 people sang it in different parts, baritone,
Wow.
first tenor, second tenor, bass.
That's
And it
crazy.
was just mind-blowing. I couldn't believe it. You look around, you felt like you're in some army of singers, The feeling was incredible.
That sounded amazing.
God,
Yeah.
that-
It
that's
was
so
really
cool. And one of the things I've always loved and appreciated about the Dooley Band, and even as I get older, I'm like, it starts to sink in more. Because you guys said, oh, you thought it was normal, just my mom sits around and we sing songs about the piano. Doesn't everyone do that? That's what I thought growing up. Like, oh yeah, my dad's band is playing at the park again, playing at a park district every weekend this summer. And St. Patrick's Day is playing 3 times a day for, 2 weeks. Isn't that what everyone does? It just seems so normal at the time.
Yeah.
Then you realize it's
Yeah.
different. But one of the things, even this, like I guess this is like in society now, but there's been kind of there's less and less bands and more, it's like you can mathematically calculate. I think since the 90s, it's like the solo artists, if you to look at the chart, the top of the chart artists, it's like 99% solo artists at this point. There's
Yeah.
not even in the 2000s, there were like some bands, there's like Weezer, it's like Blink-182, there's like these bands. And then now it's like, they don't, they're not like a band like
Yeah.
the Dooley Band. It's like such a band of connected parts.
Yeah, well, there's some great bands going on nowadays, unbelievable stuff happening. But the one thing that's missing is there's no variety anymore. It's through the years, and this has been going on a long time. It's not something that just happened 10 years ago. Like, it's going to go on for years. But it's like on the radio or wherever, it's all been distilled down to a certain kind of music, And back when we were playing especially the 70s, the 80s, and 90s on Lincoln Avenue, you would go down the block and there would be on a Tuesday night. And people went out more too and listened to live music a lot more than they do nowadays. Just the way we didn't have internet and stuff, so we had to go out to hear stuff.
Yeah.
But there, one place there would be singing there would be a jazz thing happening. Next place, bluegrass band, Special Consensus playing so and so. Next thing, a folk club. Next place, whatever.
Blues
But there
or
were all
rock
these
or
different
whatever,
things
yeah.
you could walk down and it was like some old time thing. We walked down outside, you could hear the music
Yeah.
as you're walking by.
I mean,
These different things going on. And then at Ratzo's, place, there would be somebody like Eddie Harris playing or something. You hear this, it was so cool. You could just stop and listen for a while outside, even though it was muffled. But that variety is what really helps. That's music is all together, and you got to have a basis. A lot of the stuff even nowadays is taken. I can play you something in the 20s with some riff, and it's the exact same notes and stuff, and it's going on now.
Yeah.
And people go, "Come on, man, yeah, right." But it's all together. It's all.
Connected.
And I think, unfortunately, people don't have that foundation they used to have. When we were growing up, we heard all the Glenn Miller stuff in the back, and then the 50s rock stuff. And even I always remember Paul McCartney talking about that his father was involved with the swing stuff and all that. And the Beatles and all those groups back then had that background of listening to their parents' music, which nowadays people's parents' music is what?
Totally square, right?
Something from
90s
2000 or something. I mean,
Well,
which is good in some ways, but there's not that variety of, hey, you can hear either country and western or swing or whatever. It's not there.
I think
that much.
One time someone I think maybe you printed this out, but there's like these charts from the 60s of like the top 40 music.
oh yeah, I printed.
I mean, that's just such a like a ridiculously musically diverse era.
Yeah.
I mean, you had like Johnny Cash in the top whatever. You had Frank Sinatra and all the bossa nova stuff.
Yeah.
And
Rolling
That's a good point.
Stones, everybody,
and you just had
all
Yeah,
different
you look
kinds
at the
of music.
surveys back, silver dollar surveys
Yeah.
back then, and back then the radio was more diverse. People, then they had some DJs had a little bit of more leeway,
Yeah.
and they had all different kinds of music. It wasn't just when you think of the '60s, you always think of certain things like, the Beatles, the Stones, and the Who, the Doors, or whatever coming on. And but back then you would have Horace Jankowski doing a walk in the Black Forest. Or stuff like that. In the
Easy
midst of
listening
the
music,
Beatles,
everything. You'd have everything in there. Yeah.
Then the next cut, so you'd hear all that on the radio. So even though you didn't think it was hip at the time, I'm hip.
I always look at
But you'd still listen to it, and you still go, hey, that's in the back of your mind, you go, no, not bad. Girl from Ipanema, my God, that changed my life.
Yeah.
I always look at when disco came along in the 70s, that totally flipped
Yeah,
everything.
that
on
was
its
the
head. After that, all the stuff was totally unhip. All that folk music, everything, like you were a sap if you listened to all that stuff.
yeah.
And everything had to have a beat. All of a sudden, the drums became the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like do. You had to have
To
that.
this
If
day-
you didn't have it,
To this
it's not
day,
worth
when I
listening
think
to.
about
And that totally changed everything. When that came along.
Yeah.
You have to be able to dance to it, and it's got to have that drum
Once
beat.
again, none of this was bad. I mean, but it's
Well,
it's
music
annoying.
is always
No,
evolving. Music's always evolving, and
But during the
There's a
disco
change.
craze, that was about the most
that just about
annoying
killed everything.
period
Well,
of music I've ever.
let's go back to the Dooley Band then. What would you say it was the Dooley Band's first performance?
Where we first performed.
Well, that was you and Bill
Well,
and
we
Joe.
used to. My brothers, Bill and Joe, and I started the group, the Dooley Boys, they were called. And we first started out actually playing at some different house parties like that for $4 a piece. I think I saw something recently about that.
Not bad.
And
It's more than we
then we
get
played
today.
Hostie's Basement. There was a big thing, the parties down there they would have down there. And then we started playing. But our first professional gig was I just saw a little diary I kept for about 2 weeks once. It was June 1967 at a place called the Butcher Shop, which was located, it was in Old Town. It was a few streets, like maybe on Sedgwick or something. And
On North
it was
Avenue.
a coffee house on North Avenue.
Corner of Sedgwick and
Corner of North Avenue. Actually, the Old Town Ale House was right across the street from it, and then they ended up switching locations for 3 years. But that was a coffee house, and that's the first time we ever played, and that was a great experience.
what year was that, Jim? About 1967 or something like that?
67. Yeah.
Do you remember any of the songs you were performing? on that
Yeah,
set
I've got a
list?
couple of set lists I didn't bring with me, but yeah. Oh,
There's a lot of folk stuff.
a lot of folk stuff.
And some novelty songs and
some novelty songs. Well, what we rolled on Old Mexico was one, and
Originals or?
yeah, we did original stuff too, and but yeah, we did. Blues My Naughty Sweetie Gives to Me. I think we still do that. I think that's probably the oldest
Wow.
song of the band. We
Yeah.
still,
yeah.
but
Still
we
do
played
it.
that there, and we did some jug band stuff. Jug band we were into that. Joe played washboard and all that jazz.
Wow.
And
Everybody thinks that the folk era stopped at 1964 when the Beatles came along. It didn't just come to a dead stop. It still kept going.
Well,
it
obviously, yeah.
wasn't as popular. Obviously, it was the main thing earlier in the 60s.
yeah,
But it still kept going even into the 70s. Like the folk scene
Yeah.
kept happening. So you guys were doing a lot of folk stuff then, and
Well, yeah,
we,
I
we
mean,
still do
like,
folk stuff.
You know,
Actually.
the Weavers and the Kingston Trio were the ones that
Yeah.
changed the face of
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. They were the first bands, Kingston Trio, that accompanied themselves on guitars and stuff. And this is before the Beatles and all that stuff. A lot of or skiffle stuff going on in England, where they were starting to do that too. And but they were responsible. Martin Guitar had to open up expand their factories and stuff because of the Kingston Trio.
Wow, I
Because
didn't know that.
they all played Martin.
Everybody wanted to get a guitar then and play, and the Kingston Trio stuff was simple enough that you could play it and sing it, and anybody could do it. So you'd sit around in basements and sing.
Yeah.
And it was a hip thing to do, you know. It's the hootenanny thing, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever. But it was considered a very hip thing. If, you know, yeah, let's go sing some songs.
Especially the girls. No, I could see here.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Get back to the girls.
No, but yeah, it's
It sounds like so much fun. I mean, if that's the hip thing to do, as opposed to like, oh, let's get together and play video games. Like, just so much more social and so much more interactive. I mean, that's
Yeah.
But you know, like the Kingston Trio, for instance, to this day, especially the first Kingston Trio with Gard and Shane and Reynolds, you can listen to their stuff now and go, wow, they made it look simple. That was their big thing. They made it look simple, like in baseball. The great baseball players or something, Willie Mays or something, made it look simple. When he made some spectacular catch, you go, oh yeah, cool, you know. But it was hard, and so many groups tried to imitate that sound. And some of them didn't quite do it. But I listen to their stuff now, and their rhythms and their arrangements were like really good. Like the Kingston Trio at Large is one of my favorite albums. It's like a first concept album, even before a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, we always argue about that. I like Here We Go Again.
Yeah,
That's
well,
my
I like
favorite.
them all, you know.
But you like that Large. But they're
yeah,
both great albums, actually.
But they're the first ones to start melding songs together in a certain way that it all fit, like, you know, really nicely, like get a mood going. And they were the first ones really to do that. And their harmonies and their arrangements, and they kept stuff in a lot of ways simple, which is one of my biggest, a musician's credo is less is more. Less is more. You don't have to show off everything you know on guitar in one song. If you play something well, and it's simple even, that people will understand that you can play a lot more by the implications of how you play that. So
What's your favorite song off of the At Large album?
Ooh, okay. I know what they are.
All of it, but John Hardy was to this day,
Sing a little bit of
one
it.
of my favorites.
Sing a little bit of the song.
Get away, poor John. John Hardy was a fighting man, carried a razor every day. But it's just the way all the guitars fit together. And then that went into a song called Long Black Rifle. Come closer, my love, and you'll hear my tale. And just the way they blended and stuff, you know, it was so good. But as you know, we did some benefit for Dave Gard back in the 90s at the Old Town School. We did a whole Kingston Trio thing.
Set, yeah.
And it was a bill that said,
Bill, yeah.
well, we got it. How did it go? You said, remember he's talking about, we tried to figure out which 10 songs.
Yeah.
And we pared it down to 60 songs that we liked.
Well, we'd always have an argument. Well, that's my favorite Kingston Trio song. No, wait, that's my favorite. You know, so you'd go out at about 10 songs. No, that's my favorite. So,
What was your favorite album?
I liked Here We Go Again. Actually, I just liked all the songs on there. There was one, Wide Missouri was on there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Wide Missouri is a great song. Cross the Wide Missouri.
Yeah, there's a lot of great songs on that.
A lot of good ones on there.
That's the first song I ever played in banjo was Goober Peace.
All the Way Joe. All the Way Joe.
I remember
All
you
the Way
playing
Joe.
that when
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
growing
God.
up. Yeah.
They played Holloway Joe, Dave Gard. That was his big song. They at his funeral they did that in his honor. That's a great song.
Yeah, the Kingston Trio is definitely just a prime example of just these great harmonies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember you playing that for me too growing up. That was definitely one of the, my major influences. because I think for you guys, a lot of it was like the barbershop of hearing that close harmony and, you know, all those slides and everything and fantastic pitch. And for me, that was more of like the Kingston trio because, you know, I would hear those songs over and over again, you know, as we were washing the dishes or, you know, just hanging out or running around or whatever. Just hearing those over and over again. And I would add harmonies, you know, of my own or, you know, maybe one that someone in the group was singing. And so, I think that definitely just helped me, you know, learn about harmony in a way that was listening and singing at the same time. Yeah,
so if anybody, you know, is interested in the Kingston Trio, their first album, The Hungry Eye, the second one, all of the original Kingston Trio.
They're all good.
Here we go again.
You start
Sold
trying to
out.
limit.
That's a good one.
I mean, they are. It's interesting that you ask the average person these days and they don't know who the Kingston Trio are. I mean, I love them too. I just really love the same thing, pretty much what Claire said. I mean, the harmonies are so great.
Well, see, they were always considered incredibly commercial to all the
purists.
The purists.
What was that famous thing? Somebody asked Bob Shane about that. He said, "You're not playing the real folk music, are you?" Said, "Folk, you know, what are the songs you're doing?" He said, "We're just playing music, man."
Yeah, right.
You know, he just said, "We're not trying to play folk music."
You know, a lot of folk purists back in those days, and they were the same ones. Ironically, they were trying to sing like they were blues people, and they lived in the suburbs somewhere. And those are the ones that would say that stuff about the Kingston Trio. And then, of course, they fell out of vogue quite a bit. But you've got to look at that stuff. You know, every era has bad people performing and saps performing too. You know, there's not an era that in the 20s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, in the 50s, you know, people look back in that era. But there were some saps singing, my gosh. And the 60s, there were some real, you know, not everything that's in the 60s is good.
Don't glorify,
you know,
everything.
Oh my God, I hated that then, I hate it more now. And so you always got to keep that in mind. But I'd say as far as harmony groups, I'd go back to the Kingston Trio, Beatles, of course, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, and the Byrds. And there were other groups, the Everly Brothers, the ones that did pure harmony stuff that we were really influenced by, would be some of those ones like that. And then there were a lot of obscure groups that we liked their harmonies and stuff too, that never quite made it as big as the other bands.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. So Mick, which Kingston Trio songs do you remember when you were growing up? I used to play it all the time, the stuff.
Or
Any jump out at you?
That album that had Miss Bailey and
that's Here We Go Again.
Here we go again. Yeah.
Oh, Miss Bailey, unfortunate Miss Bailey.
I mean, I didn't really understand some of the humor in those songs at the time too.
Now you do. Now you
I'll
get
listen
it.
to it and be like,
It was college humor. They called it back then.
it's funny.
Very sophisticated college humor.
So that was like, so the Dooley Band had kind of the folk era at that time then.
Yeah.
And then can you just take me through take us through the eras of the...
Well, that was the earlier 60s, but then of course everybody started, you know, look at the Bob Dylan thing, everybody started electrifying and getting more rock stuff more folk rock. We more into folk rock.
You know,
in
when
the
we were playing,
later
we played
60s.
at some places. I remember to this day, there was a place called the Saddle Club, which was on North Avenue, and they did a lot of the Old Town School of Folk Music people went there on Thursday nights. You'd sign up and play there and do a set or a short set or whatever. So we would be playing there. And there, you know, other people like Steve Goodman was there and
John Prine,
all those guys. Yeah. I think that's the first place I heard him that he did City of New Orleans was in that place. And so we went in there, and the Ray Tate, bless his soul, the late Ray Tate, I believe, really liked us a lot, even though we were considered commercial Kingston Trio type, you know.
we were kind of the renegades of the folk scene.
We were kind of the renegade, the outskirts. And to this day, I think there's people still bitter about the fact that we were popular at that place.
How dare you?
Well, I dared to bring in an electric bass with an. I
So
had to bring
Mike
my
brought
amp
his
in.
electric bass
So I
in.
said, what is that?
And I remember this is right at the time of Dylan going electric, where all these people freaked out at Newport, whatever it was he was playing. And there's people that actually got up and walked out. They actually had, oh my God, and walked out of the place.
But
And then to me, so we really dug that actually in some ways. So then the next week we came in and my brother Joe brought his sax. And that was like,
Yeah.
oh my,
yeah, that was it.
how dare you bring a sax in? And ironically enough, that doesn't matter nowadays at all with that stuff,
Yeah.
But we started doing that, playing like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we played in all the
But it
clubs.
was a great. I mean, I loved all the other stuff they were doing, the traditional stuff. We loved that stuff. We never made fun of it or anything. We just enjoyed it. But we thought there was more to life than just that. And surprisingly enough, the people that didn't like that were the students and some of the lower people. But like Ray Tate, who was the head of the Old Town School, and Winstrachey, and some other guys, Fleming Brown, those people all came up and made a special thing to say, you guys are really good and really like what you're doing. Funnily enough, they said that even though we were commercial sounding, as opposed to the other people that were kind of like, doing that. You don't do Dylan, you're into Bob Dylan. But that's another story.
Yep, that is another story.
Real recognize real, right? I mean, if you have you're really there to love the music. I mean, I think people will see that, and certain people can notice that.
Well, we've always, since we were brought up with such a variety of music, that's why our new album is tentatively going to be called The Tree of Music, because we want to show that there's all these branches of music are actually all from one source, one idea. It goes back to classical, it goes back to Baroque music, some of the stuff that's going on, and Renaissance music even. And so we're trying to show that to people. When we perform nowadays, that some of the younger people come up, I'm sure to you too, and say, boy, I've never heard that kind of stuff that much. It's not too bad. I like that. We'll do some 20s music, and they'll go, what's that called? But there's good music, it's all the different variety. And there used to be a lot more variety bands around back in the 70s and 80s in Chicago, and now there's not too many like us. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's just who we are. So there.
So in the 70s, what were the different genres that you played? Like, you were in folk? Was there,
kind of a folk rock sound,
rock era? Was there did you focus more on original or songs at different times? Or
Jim still is a prolific songwriter, so we arranged, or you arranged, a lot of songs that you wrote that we did for the band. We also added drums.
Yeah,
so that was a big move about 1973 or 74.
Yeah, we had
drums and a fiddle player. Leslie Gould played with us for a couple of years there, and a guy that played sax and flute and piano played with us. So we had that group. And
then Rich Nielsen played bass trombone. He had a bass trombone and recorder.
Yeah,
because he was in a Renaissance group. So we had all this
that's such a
wild combinations coming into the band. And then Denny Conroy was the drummer at the beginning. He was from the Crying Shames, the drummer from the Crying Shames.
Yeah.
And so we had all these different influences happening. Oh, who played tabla? Denny Conroy,
yeah,
played tabla as well.
So we added a bunch of people, but we also did other types of gigs. A couple of summers we played at the Renaissance Fair up in southern Wisconsin, where we would go up there and we would camp out for the weekend. Okay, and
Cool.
And we dressed up in like tights and silk robes and stuff like that, and we did what we thought was like Renaissance music. It was just, I don't know what it was exactly, but
Amazing Blondell, we copied a lot
kind
of
of
their stuff.
folky type music. You'd walk around, and stroll through the grounds, and sing for people, and they had some belly dancers would come by, and they would dance to the music that we played.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was wild times.
So we did that a couple of summers. So that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Just
and there
totally acoustic, obviously.
There were other musicians playing as well.
Yeah.
That were doing that kind of music. And I always remember they would every maybe it was on the Sunday of the weekend, they would have a big parade of everybody that was in the fair, jugglers and dancers and flowers, and they'd all be marching. So this one Sunday, a fellow named Jerry G. Bishop, who used to be on Channel 5, I think it was, I think he was the first Sven Dooley, by the way. He came out and they were doing a live thing of the parade, right? And so they said, okay, we want all the musicians. There was about a combination of all these people, got different groups, got together, about 10 of them. And they said, okay, you guys play something. We're going to start in 1 minute. And you got to really play something really well. And we had never all played together. So we're going, my God, what are we going to do here?
What does everybody know that we all know?
What does everybody know? And nobody could think of anything. And all of a sudden I thought of the theme from Clutch Cargo, which was a cartoon on
that was in the
Garfield
60s.
Goose.
When we were kids, like all the guys.
And everybody was our age group. And some of you wouldn't even know what that is now. But it was Clutch Cargo. And
It sounded like a
everybody knew
Renaissance
it.
song, you know. So
Yeah.
everybody knew it. So we started playing that. and
everybody's
we had-
laughing at playing
We had
it.
flutes and crumhorn, all these medieval instruments playing it. The theme from Clutch Cargo. He goes, "This is Jerry G. Bishop," and all of a sudden he realizes what we're playing. Oh my God! He laughed. He thought it was really funny that here we were doing the theme from Clutch Cargo, and that everybody's dancing along to it.
That's so funny. I actually remember seeing like tapes of, you guys.
Yeah, we've got some videos
yeah.
that we got to
Those
transfer
were
over.
fun.
Definitely
and
a
then
sight.
at night, the grounds would close down, and all the musicians and all the other people that worked there, we'd have
Yeah.
a big party, like big fires,
Campfire and then
bonfires
singing and
So
stuff. It was really a
It was
beautiful
a lot
time.
of fun,
Really
thing.
nice time.
And then one of the big things was, I think afterwards too, there was a pond that was nearby, and
The quarry.
the quarry, yeah. And usually these Renaissance fairs, it would be like 95 degrees, so you'd be like really roasting, be sweaty and everything. Just by the end of the day, can't take it. So everybody would say, okay, we're going to meet at the quarry, and we all go there. It was a gigantic skinny dipping thing.
Yeah, everybody
It
swam.
was about 30, young men and women, all skinny dipping out there. And I always remember there's one time we were out there, everybody splashing around having a good time. And there was a train went right by, like a freight train came by, and they slowed down so they could, they were honking there, and we were waving back. But yeah, that was something you probably couldn't do these
The
nowadays.
70s are wild.
It was,
Yeah, man.
it was like a spontaneous thing. It wasn't like, planned out.
It was right at the end of the hippie era too, so people were doing that kind of stuff a little more than
So, but yeah, that was.
there's a lot of stories from that area you can't really relate nowadays.
But yeah, it was a fun
stories.
thing. It was
Oh,
fun.
heaven.
Well, those are fun times. And then we'd drive back the next day, and we'd be playing at a nightclub somewhere. Playing with rock music or whatever. So
Yeah.
you have to switch gears, totally switch gears, and
Yeah, we had a
playing
bigger
other stuff.
band then. We had a big with that ensemble, which I loved, brass section and stuff like that. It's very cool.
How was it promoting the band back then? In terms of like,
Well, what we used to do, we used to hand draw posters, okay, and go up and down Lincoln Avenue with tape.
Everybody did that.
Everybody taped, and you taped the street poles, and so
Yeah.
there'd be like all kinds of posters on each street pole. You'd go up and down, and that's how you'd promote it. You'd tell your friends, you'd
Yeah.
call up and tell, yeah, we're playing at Ratzo's
Yeah.
next Tuesday. Come on by, okay. Excuse me.
Unless you had an agent, it was really hard even to get into the Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Tribune. They were very selective, and this is before then the Reader started, and that really helped a lot. And the Chicago Express was another magazine then that never really
We
made
should
it.
take out display ads in the Reader.
But the Reader,
Yeah.
last time it would have these gigantic listings of all kinds of music, so that's how it really got going.
But there was a whole strip of clubs all along there: Wise Fools and Orphans and Ratzos and somebody else's Trouble.
Is that Lincoln Avenue?
Lincoln Avenue. There's a whole strip of clubs that have music almost every day of the week, and people knew that the quality of the music was usually pretty good. It's local bands, but they were really good. And so you would just go out, you say, oh, I hear there's a new band playing over there. Let's check it out. Okay. So we lived around there. I remember I could walk over to Lincoln Avenue or see a jazz group or whatever.
Yeah.
You always knew you were going to hear something good, and people took a chance on it. And a lot of people were doing, like we were doing your original songs and Joe's original songs. Yeah. And people would take a chance on it. And they, nowadays you got to know everything. I'm the same way. I got to know, well, what's that group about? Let me hear it on YouTube before I take out a night to go.
The cover charge back then was like, $2
or $1 or something. So, I mean, people would take a chance on you and go in and listen. And
it really
so
sounds,
you built up a following.
The way you guys describe it, it sounds to me like Nashville. Like when I've been down there a couple times in the past, 10 years. And it's like, basically that's how, walk down the street and you can hear music coming in. It's like, you kind of go in there, you kind of know it's going to be pretty good.
But you wouldn't know who it was necessarily.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. It might be covers, might be some originals, but it's just interesting. It's how.
But it was amazing. Lincoln Avenue and Old Town back then, even during the week, was crowded with people walking on the sidewalks, And maybe it is now. I haven't been there so long.
Yeah.
But we played at a place called the Bulls for a long time, a great jazz, became a mostly jazz place later, but they had a variety in the basement there. And that was an experience to play there at that place. We had a pretty decent following, and a lot of people came in. Celebrities would come late at night. It was one of these places. How many sets was it?
Well, we did 4 sets.
5 sets.
And 5 on Saturday.
5 on Saturday.
It had a late license. They were open so you'd play till 3:30 in the morning, like on a Thursday night or Friday, and it would be packed with people. Oh, and 4:30 on Saturday. And I remember I was going to college at the time. And one time it was during finals week, and I had in our breaks I was in the kitchen studying for my finals, And then it's time to get back out there, and we'd have to go back out and play. But that was some famous kind of humorous stories there.
Oh, there's many stories.
I was like 19 or something. We were playing there for a couple of years, and then we happened to be playing there on my 21st birthday. And so Joe and Jim are singing, and it's Mike's 21st birthday. Let's everybody sing happy birthday. And the owner came racing up there. He's really mad at me, and he's looking at me. You've been drinking in here for 2 years. I've been serving you back. I've been serving beers to you for. And I say, Lino, it doesn't matter anymore. Oh yeah, right. Here's a beer. With some.
Yeah, that's also the place we had this one amp that Joe bought. My brother Joe bought at the Woolworths or Neisner's or some 10-cent store. Time store back in the day, in the 60s, for $20. It was a Kalamazoo amp. It was a little tiny amp that weighed about like a feather. I mean, I don't even know what there's a battery in it or something. And so we never used that on stage. But then one day we were playing it at home. And to this day, it had the best tremolo sound I've ever heard. I couldn't believe it. I would love to have. I mean, you spend all this money to get those sounds nowadays. This was like really cool. But anyway, Joe and I were playing it, and we ripped the horn in half, and it blew out. But you could play You Really Got Me. It
had a great fuzz sound.
Like
natural.
So we started bringing it to our gigs. We brought it to the Bulls, and I was playing You Really Got Me on it. And at that moment, this thing blew up. Sparks came shooting and flames came shooting out. I couldn't believe this little amp, and all the smoke filled the whole place, and people are running for the exits. Oh my God, this place is blowing up! And they're all running out the doors.
The other thing about the Bulls too is that it was in a basement of this big apartment building complex, and occasionally the police would come in with the Chicago police in their uniforms and come in and say you guys are too loud.
Yeah.
And so we'd ask, well, why do those people move above a bar? If they're complaining, like the people living in the floor above, people living, they're complaining about the noise that you're too loud. So why did they move above a bar? Just out of curiosity. So,
but it was a great place. There were so many great bands and people that played there. Marty Pfeiffer was a big guy there. One of my favorite.
Pete O'Neill with the Som Brazil.
Yeah. Pete O'Neill, Som Brazil, made in Brazil. They were called originally.
Just all kinds of stuff.
Just a lot of people.
But
the Glob.
There were a lot of clubs that we played right. It was right stretch right along there. Just all kinds.
And a lot of the neat thing about it too was musicians that were in town would come in there afterwards because it was late night. So they'd come in at 2 in the morning. So you'd look out and see different famous musicians sitting around. And I remember this one night, these guys came in, Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart. Remember them? The songwriters and stuff. And they came into our band, actually. And my brother Joe was playing sax. And at that moment, for some unknown reason, this really pretty woman stands up from the audience and walks up to Joe and grabs him.
Well, more than that.
More than grabs him.
You don't want to say that.
Oh.
So.
As he's playing a sax solo.
Just like kisses him,
And,
we'll say.
and people are going, people cheering and stuff. It was like, and these guys are going, and Tommy Boyce or Bobby Hart, whichever one. Does this always happen here? It was like the one time in 1,000 times.
Was that the woman who was a playmate or something? Or no?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. She wasn't the one
That was a different
pulling
one.
a
That was
zipper down, but it was somebody
Yeah, the Playboy Playmates used to come in there.
She used to,
and
yeah.
stuff.
And Joe dated her actually.
Joe dated her. Yeah.
But yeah, that was just one of the clubs. There's a lot.
But that's
lot
another
going on.
story.
Some wild
Yeah,
There's
that's
7,000
another
stories in
podcast.
the Naked City.
Speaking of that, yeah, these stories are great. We're about 70 minutes in. Do you guys want to take a short break?
Yeah, let's take a little break here.
Take a short
Few
break and
minutes.
we'll continue.
Sounds good.
Back to you.
Okay. So the Dooley Band, the Dooley Brothers, the new Dooley Band, you've played at the Irish American Heritage Center going on 40 years. I think we're going to be playing at Fitzgerald's Pub on St. Patrick's Day weekend for the 40th time.
This is coming up. Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Next weekend, yeah.
Yeah, next weekend. And so I want to talk about how you got into Irish music. And I'm just going to play a little bit of Star of the County Down off of the Black Sunshine album here.
Mm-hmm.
From the banks to the band, she's a star of the county down. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Cave, and from Galway to Dublin town. Oh, may they seem like the brown county that I met in the county down.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, it's like a little, you can sense a little bit of the American folk influence even in your versions of those songs too. It gives it like a little bit of an extra oomph. I've always thought that listening to a lot of those songs. Yeah, I guess we could take these off here too.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, in some of the versions,
Breckenfeld helps with that on drums.
yeah, Breckenfeld's great on that. But I mean, give you guys credit too. The vocals with all the harmonies, and this is the Black Sunshine album, so you got Bill and Joe singing there as well. The 4-part harmonies, and really makes it a unique song in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, listening to you guys in the bars and in parks too, it's almost like a hard sound to capture in the studio because that live energy has always seemed so powerful and so strong. And like some of the versions of the songs that I've witnessed, or even since I've been playing with the band for 10 years or however long, like I think Fields of Athenry is one that we do like a ballad, and it's really, really cool version of that song that I haven't heard literally anywhere.
Well, part of that is like I've always been a proponent of when you're singing a song, you're singing the song first. That's the most important thing, the music. And by the way you sing it, your own personality will come out of that,
Wow, that's really cool.
So instead of trying to imitate, we are not a traditional Irish band, we're Americans singing Irish music, Irish Americans. So you sing it, and you sing it with the music in mind, the song in mind, but you don't try and imitate what you aren't. You just sing it, and your own personality will come out.
Yeah, that authenticity I'm certain there's.
So
So let's talk about when. So you're playing. We were talking about you're playing at the Bowls, and just playing tons of gigs, and then in the '70s, at some point, you all took a trip to Ireland. That's how I understand it. I don't know how the chronology works exactly. There's a cause and effect, but you all went to Ireland, and then maybe after that, there was a point where you started also playing in Irish. Like picking up more Irish music.
We went there in August of 1977.
we'd been there many times before that.
Yeah, Jim and Joe and I and some other family members went to Ireland to visit out at our cousin's farm.
Dennis Cooney,
Dennis Cooney, right? And he knew a lot of pubs in the area that
And musicians.
Yeah, and he'd take us around to places, and we ended up playing in some of the pubs, having some fun with that. And they didn't want to hear Irish music there. It was kind of funny. They wanted to hear the music we were playing.
American music.
So, but anyway, we got to hear a lot of Irish bands, traditional Irish bands, and we got interested in
The
Irish music.
Tullacaley Band.
The Tullacaley Band is one, and Matty Ryan playing on accordion.
Martin Hayes.
And so yeah, we got to like a lot of Irish music. And then when we came back, this agent called us up, and the three of us, Joe and Jim and I, said, "Okay, I have a chance for you guys to play on St. Patrick's Day. It was for a real lot of money." And the guy said, "Do you guys know any Irish music?" And at the time, we knew maybe two or three.
Danny Boy and
like the usual ones. And we could do a whole night. We could do a whole night of Irish music. So we had to kind of do a crash course where we learned a lot of Irish songs, like from the Clancy Brothers type of songs. And so we went and we played at this for the Showman's League of America. Actually, it was in the downtown area, the Irish party. So we did that, and then one day we were playing at the Bowls, and it was a waitress, Jim, that came up to you and said, "Hey, there's this new club opening up on the far northwest side of Chicago, out in Central and between Irving Park and Addison. And there's this Irish group they bought this club, and they're looking for entertainment." So we went out there on one rainy April evening to audition, and out at this club in like 1978, like April of 78. And there were about 3 or 4 people in the place, and one guy happened to know our band. This guy, Phil Flavin, knew of our band, and he was telling the owners, "Yeah, these guys are really good." So he kind of greased the skids for us. But we did an audition there, and they really liked us, and so we started playing there. And the people that owned the place were Peter Brady, Eamon Brady, and Margaret Brady, the family, and they had a group themselves, and they would sing there 6 nights a week. And so they hired us, and we'd play there just about every weekend. We'd alternate shows with them. And the Kilkenny Castle, it was the type of place where the audience could be really enthusiastic. They'd be clapping and singing along and everything like that. But then when a ballad came along, everybody got quiet in the whole place. You could hear a pin drop in the whole place. There's maybe a couple hundred people in the club. So they were really appreciative of the music that was played, and they liked that we did more of a variety of music. That we did some Irish music, but we did a lot of other things too. So we played there for some years, and as a matter of fact, I met my wife there, my future wife. She was sitting at a table with her sisters and a couple other young ladies, and as we get back to the thing about why do male musicians play music to attract the attention of the
yes.
So I went over and introduced myself and got to know them, and said, "Hey, there's 3 pretty young women here. Let's got to know them." So then met my wife there, and
and Aunt Sue and Aunt Mary Beth.
That's the reason why you're here, Mick.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
So
now you know the rest of the story.
That's how I met you.
we ended up playing there for many years, and it was just that was probably my favorite place to play. It's like a legendary place. You could walk in there by yourself, and you would know 5 or 10 people in there.
That's really cool.
Any day.
It was like a family.
It was like Cheers, so everybody knows your name. So
that was that like the late 70s and 80s?
Late 70s up until I think they closed up about 1986.
Who was playing with the band at that point?
Joe and Jim and I were basically the trio.
Okay, so you had the
but
trio.
then
Jerry
Field,
You added the fiddle.
great violinist,
You had the
Yeah,
fiddle.
we added him for some of them.
in the middle of all that, and he would play with us there too.
So that's the late 70s, and you just kind of said, oh, we'll play Irish music. You have the Irish heritage anyway. You grew up with, your dad sending money to his relatives back in Ireland. You just tell me that story. But were you was that difficult to manage between genres at all? Because when I listened to Place in My Heart, which you got the album
I
cover?
do.
Of this, honestly, I've gone through phases in my life listening to listening to the album and listening to some of the originals. Can I see that for a second? Just see the tracks on here. And honestly, and I played it for people, in whatever, people that I've met over the years, and I'll get into phase where I'll just sit down and you're going to listen to this. Isn't this great? And just listening to the original songwriting, the harmonies, the different, and it's
The quality.
the quality, the different instrumentations. And it really does sound like, it kind of makes sense. Uncle Jim, listening, you talk about all the different amalgamation of music that probably was, that was in your mind as you're making this. But so I guess, so you're playing, Irish music, and it's a ton of fun. And that was like a whole cultural phenomenon, is that the Irish
We're still playing a ton of gigs as the Dooley Brothers Band, which was all this stuff, all the original jazz, folk jazz. I don't know what you'd call it exactly, acoustic stuff. And so that's at the same time we were doing that, and it was kind of what do you call it when splits personality thing or something?
Psychosis.
So some people knew us as an Irish band, and then some people knew us as this kind of band.
These Place in My Heart, I think it's natural. I think that's probably one of my favorites off this. Song by the Sea, obviously, with Joe. Just the epic, the songwriting there.
It's great on vinyl, great on record.
Yeah.
I played this
still have some
sometimes in my
vinyl
room.
of this. We've never put this on CDs, which we have to do sometime, and other media.
On Spotify.
But everybody on that album was a superb musician. We were fortunate and honored to have some of the best musicians in Chicago playing that album, and some of the best jazz musicians as well, like Harold Morrison,
Pete O'Neill, Bob
on
Long
sax,
on piano.
Bob Long on keyboards, and the list goes on. Akio Sasajima on guitar, great guitarist. Who else? Just a lot of good people.
Yeah.
And Jerry Field. So
And Bill played.
and Bill,
Bill
brother
played
Bill.
some harmonies
and,
on there. Some
and
harmonies
listening to this album now, it's still it holds up totally.
It holds up, absolutely. Yeah.
Even though it was from 1980 or 81 or whatever it was, it's still like, man, I still really like it.
So
Of course,
my friends listen
Of
to
course,
it.
he likes it because he wrote just about
That's
every
right.
song on there. So
Don't you forget.
And Uncle Jim, what's your process for writing a song? Do you have something you follow, or you just?
Well, I'll tell you, man.
okay, do you have a couple hours here of?
If I write on this cup,
Oh my!
there's my song. No, it's so hard to tell because there's so many different. You hear this from everybody. They ask about how do you write a song. You know, going back to Gershwin and stuff. There's no set way. It's however you. Sometimes you write the lyrics out. Sometimes a lot of times you do the music, and then you just keep your mind open. I think songs seem to be in the air around you when you play, and you just kind of let that come into you. It's like it's not as much as at the beginning as you creating it, as letting it come into you. What your experience is. I always like the expression about when you're praying to God. Those of you who pray to God, you also have to learn how to listen to what God says, and it's the same idea. You're opening up your own being, soul, musicianship, creativity to that. So it's hard to tell. Each time it's different,
Almost sounds like you're transcribing it,
Yeah.
or something. That's how I've felt like that in a few songs.
You kind of turn you don't think about I mean, you do sometimes. I'm going to write a song now. You just let yourself do it, and it comes out. But you have to create that situation for yourself by playing music a lot and all the stuff we've talked about before, being open to things and your harmonies and stuff like that,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a mysterious, obviously, process. Where did these melodies come from,
Yeah,
There's only a
that
certain
was one
amount of
question I wanted
notes.
to ask you actually too. Is how do you come up with a melody?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen you come up with just melodies on the spot, and there's something about the actual melody that it just seems mysterious. It's like,
Well, Brother Joe was like that too. We had a spin-off group from the Dooleys. It was just at our house, but called the Chimes of Insanity. Joe had started that group. And what we would do is we would turn on the tape recorder and just start playing music.
Stream of consciousness type of
Some
thing.
stream of consciousness. And, sometimes. And we would do whatever we wanted to. It would be as foolish or as beautiful or somber as we wanted to be. And a lot of it was total nonsense. You go on for 30 minutes, but some of it was good. But you were just opening up your mind to do that stuff without any kind of, oh my God, what are people going to hear if they ever hear this? You wouldn't think that. You just do it. So.
yeah, I think one time, I don't know, is this true? You said you've written like over 700 songs. Maybe it's more.
Well, more than that now, probably, but yeah. I'm not writing as much as I used to, but I still do some stuff, but yeah. All different kinds of stuff. Just, you get going with it. You have those periods. It's where you have a week where you're just writing zillions of stuff and doing all this stuff. Then it's like writing when you write your stuff. Then the next week there's nothing. It's like that Star Trek episode with Dr. McCoy that's operating on Spock's brain, and he's in the middle of it, and all of a sudden whereas, this looks so simple a few minutes ago. That one, that story about that.
Yeah.
The planets align in different
All of a sudden it's
way.
just gone.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? Wait, I just wrote 3 songs.
Yeah,
So easy a child could do it.
A child could do it.
that's
Yeah, that's how it's like, So you got to make hay while the sun shines, as the
Yeah.
old saying goes. But you also have to keep open to that. You got to keep your mind and body open to that fact, and you got to drop everything when you do it. It's like taking a good photo. There's a certain millisecond, or you're taking a photo, watching the sunset, where it's like that's right there. You gotta be ready to jump on it.
Yeah, I always thought, well, going back to the albums too, so the Place in My Heart, just amazing. There's like a power and like a strength and there's like a youthfulness to all those, and like the love songs and some of the, it's like, it's so great. And then, but going up to Glad Mad, or
Well, let's go chronologically
okay,
a little
so
bit here.
chronologically, then you had
Right before, I think we did this right before Place in My Heart. We did a Irish album called The Road to Lisdoonvarna.
Oh, you did that before Place in My
I
Heart?
think it was. I can't remember.
Yeah.
We have to check it out. It was a couple of years before that. And we actually had it first out in a cassette album. Remember, those big thing cassette albums were even before
Cassette
CDs.
album, yeah, right.
This was put out on CD later. But this is a group of Irish songs, mainly Irish songs, but some other things. And we did this in one night with Jerry Field, our fiddle player. We went to the studio, Acme Recording Studios over on Southport.
You did that in one night?
Michael Rasfeld,
right by the music box. Yeah, we went over there and we recorded this all. It started about 8:00 at night, and we went all the way through the night. And about 8 the next morning, we finished it, and he mixed it and everything. Then we went out and had breakfast. But we totally did this in one night, and it sounded pretty good. So we were playing all the time then, so we were able to do songs like in 1 or 2 takes, like with the whole band, without even overdubbing. We just played everything live. And then, we did. Then around 1990, we did Glad Magic, which was a song. A lot of good songs on here. A lot of originals and some other ones. There's no Irish songs on here actually, but that's one of my favorite albums. Like the Kingston Trio, one of my favorite albums that we did. But
yeah, I think this is one of the ones I used to listen to growing up.
Yeah.
A lot was the
Same.
Glad Magic, and there's some really really underrated songs on here too, like 5 a.m. I think that might be my favorite. Some of the like just the little things that you guys add into that like if you listen to 5 a.m. there's like these voices you guys do sometimes. It's like just got that funny energy and I just remember you're using your just cheeks as trumpets or whatever, playing the trumpet.
Well, we stole it from the Mills Brothers. Used to do that a lot. You have a horn section.
Yeah, the 5 a.m. That was about a musicians coming home at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's like a musician's.
Yeah.
5 a.m. I lose my mind at daybreak.
Yeah, this was a really cool album. And Dad, I know you were saying we're talking about before even doing this, like, thinking about the golden ages of the band.
Wow,
which is I don't know, maybe you have different opinions, but you had said that you really enjoyed playing in the 90s, which was when you were kind of doing that album.
Right, the beginning of the 90s, yeah.
Being an absentee father, just gone every weekend. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I think a real golden age with our brother Joe. Yeah, the three of us played together for 35 years.
With Joe,
like that was the core of the group.
And you guys singing together was amazing too. You guys sounded like one voice together. It was great to hear.
Yeah, we were playing a ton. Sometimes 2 or 3 gigs a day on the weekends, and then we played on a cruise ship as well. And we played all over the place, and so our chops were like just right there, and our harmonies. We just not struggled, but we rehearsed a lot too, which is always a nice secret to playing. The more you rehearse, the better you sound. I mean, Segovia was rehearsing when he was in his 80s, so we were rehearsing and playing. So our harmonies. And we had some knockdown, drag-out battles about it, but we went through every single note and said, this is wrong, this is wrong. And when you're in a band, you have to cut to the chase a lot of times. You can't just say, gee, Johnny, I think your harmonies, you're a little off there, We got to the point where we're going, man, that's off there. Joe, Jim, you just sang that out of tune there. And we were just forthright, and that cuts through a lot of the BS, and so we got right down to stuff. And I remember there were a few times when it was heavy, people were going like, well, screw you, man. I mean, and I thought that I'm trying the best I can.
Being brothers, too, I bet. Yeah.
But we just got past that, and we just made sure we were right on the level, and it paid off. I listened back to some tapes and stuff at that time period, and it's just like, as you said, Claire, 3 is 1 there. That was good.
So a lot of the culmination of that was in the Glad Magic album, but also we had another album, Black Sunshine, with our brother Bill, a lot of 4-part harmonies, which we came out with later. Yeah. I think it was in the early 2000s, maybe 2004, 2005, 2006, right around there, where we did, Bill wrote this song called Black Sunshine about a guy who has experiences drinking coffee. Black Sunshine is coffee, the buzz that you get from it. But so
not enough songs about coffee, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good. That was a good one.
Well, Shel Silverstein wrote "Have Another Espresso." That was always a famous.
Oh, that's.
So then we did all these recordings, and then we kept going along, and then about 10 years ago, Mick always expressed big interest in the group, and he would come along and help us with our equipment. And remember that? You remember that, Mick?
Since I was 5, since I could lift a cord.
A cord, yeah.
We'd pay him about $10, and he'd be our roadie. And no, we'd pay him more than that.
No, he'd pay us $10. We said, Mick, come on.
And then Mick started learning some songs like the Everglades, the Kingston Trio, and Deputy Down, and he started coming up and singing with Jim and I, basically, and Bill, and so we started going along there, and then Jim's son, Jimmy, Claire's brother, Jimmy, started playing with us too. And great guitarist, great vocalist. And so Bill kind of faded out. He had to drop out for various reasons. So then we had a band called, with the 4 of us, with Jim and I and Mick and Jimmy. And this is really powerful male sound and 4-part harmonies and stuff, and everybody was, and we really evolved with that group where we were really tight with that group as well.
Yeah, that started to really come together.
So Jimmy was really a special talent.
Jimmy was just a phenomenal.
He was great vocalist. Like he was a natural. He just had natural talent.
He was one of those people. He'd walk into the room and you'd look at Jimmy.
But Jimmy, hey.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was great.
That was a great time.
And then along came a little girl, Claire. And you came up and sang with us the first time, I think, with Jimmy and
with Jimmy
at the Irish American Heritage Festival in summertime, right?
Yeah.
How did it feel?
I remember being so nervous, just
Which
being
song
in
was
front
it?
of a crowd.
What song did you sing?
Oh man, I think it was probably like 1 or 2 songs. It might have just been on, I don't know, maybe like Patsy Fagan or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember walking up there being so nervous and scared. But the more I did it, the more I got comfortable. But I just remember looking at specifically my dad and my brother and just and you guys too, and just being like, wow, this is cool. So I really started to get into it. I kind of forgot about the nervousness of it.
And then you did Goldie Burgers.
Yeah.
One of our favorite places to play. You came in and you would just come from one of those contests.
Yeah, I came in from the IHSA solo and ensemble competition, this vocal competition.
Where you sang, do a little bit of Down.
I sang Sally Gardens.
Sing a little bit of it.
Down by the Sally Gardens.
Yeah.
So I sang
song.
that one.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I remember that vividly.
Mickey loved that. Yeah.
Well, that was that's such a good. I think I read that poetry recently for some reason. Who's it by?
Yates.
Yeah, it's by Yates, who is one of the great. He's one of the great Irish
it's
poets.
a great man.
And then I was like, wait, Claire. And I was like putting that together, but also I just remember Claire came into Goldie Burgers. It was the winter of 2019, I think. Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
And so we're playing there our Christmas show, and the bar just like quieted down. You had like cast a spell on the bar.
Yeah,
which he always does even to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you were nervous that first time. That's interesting because I was definitely, when I started playing, I would not say I was like a natural, get in front of people. Now I definitely don't have a problem, but it's like gotten easier as I go along to do. It's like you kind of get desensitized to it.
Yeah.
But I'd say, but now I don't know who I was talking to. They're like, wow, she's 21 and she just gets up there and sings like it's nothing, like it's no big deal. She's got great confidence, great stage presence.
You.
Well, you were always taught that because you sang a lot of church.
Yeah.
And for those parents out there with kids that's singing, don't make a big deal out of it. Just say, go up and sing. So you always were just used to, you didn't consider it, oh no, I got to do the singing thing. We just let you do it. Kind of, hey, it's fun.
Yeah. And my dad here, he really taught me that it's all about the experience too, because you're singing, with your family on stage and you're using your gifts and stuff that you've worked hard on. And there's also people in the audience that have made the effort to come to see you and they really want to do it and they want to listen and they want to have a great time. And you've always taught, me that like that sort of circle of connection there. Yeah. And there's definitely a magical, moment there. So I've definitely tried to, be present in that. And speaking of some magic here, today I brought my first payment, my first check as a band member I put the Dooley Brothers, because it was still the Dooley Brothers back then, from December 28th of 2019. I put yay at the bottom.
December 28th of 2019?
Yeah.
That was that one song or the whole Sally Garden.
$20.
It's not bad for one song, I think.
Pretty good.
Well, that's really good.
Where do you keep that at home, by the way? I was curious. No,
I keep it.
Just to backtrack a little bit, Mick, when you started playing with the group, what are your memories of when you first started playing full time with the band? Of any songs that you really look forward to singing with everybody?
Yeah, I remember. Playing the Kingston Trio songs. That was fun. That song, "The Deputy Down," that we don't really do that one.
Can't do it.
Bad Man's Blunder.
Yeah, Bad Man's Blunder. It's a good Kingston Trio song, but I remember singing that one. I remember. think I just remember more being like not intimidated, but just being up there and being like being proud to be part of it and be trying to, you know, carry on a tradition that's been, you guys have obviously devoted your lives to doing this. And it's like, I think the first few years I was still wasn't really picturing myself as like a, you know, sort of like a full-time devoted band. And then I know when Jimmy came on, it really got me way more excited, you know?
Yeah.
I was so excited to play. And like, I remember going back and forth with him about like, we're trying to learn songs and,
well, it was good that you had somebody more your own age.
Yeah, I mean, that
Well,
we
you
could
guys
talk
are quite
about
a
these
duo
guys
together. You
Oh,
can see
these
the energy. The energy. Was
I mean,
jacked up.
it kind of evened out the energy because I was from, you know, and you guys were so, you know, great. And obviously I enjoyed and I remember those early times, you know, Jim coaching me on the,
yelling at you.
the harmonies.
Don't do it like
Well, it was
that.
like, you know, coaching me on these harmonies for like, was that one song? Don't say you love me. Don't, the one bird.
Oh, yeah.
song.
Oh, yeah.
So
Bird
far
song.
away.
Don't say-
Like trying to
yeah.
learn these different harmonies. And, you know, and it's interesting because I've always been moderately interested in guitar and like learned, you know, some songs in high school and whatnot, but I definitely didn't like train my voice or hadn't like taken it probably, you know, I just hadn't put in the hours and the practice to be like super serious, which it is good to do at a young age, still, you know, continuing to do it. And it's, you know, a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, just finally kind of letting go to that and just, I think it's still honestly an evolution for me. Every time we play, it's just trying to be more of a learning to be a, you know, you're not on every song, but be supportive, even if you're doing like, you know, some little thing. And I think Uncle Jim, you show me, and I've seen Claire doing these things too, where it's just like, well, you say, oh, just play, here, put your capo on 8
Yeah.
and just play these 2 notes at this time.
Right.
And it's like, I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. But then it's like, I hear Claire doing it. I'm like, that sounds so cool. When you just add that little, you know, touch.
Little splash.
And then the audience, it does, I think they do, you know, people notice those little things.
Well, it's always good to remind yourself that those little things like that, whenever you hear any song you're going to hear, there's always some little thing you go, yeah, that's really cool, man. That's called a hook, in a way, a hook. There's one little note, one little song. It could be the simplest thing over and over, but that's what people hear and go. And that's what, you know, when I listen to a song, all of a sudden you kind of wait for that one thing. So it's good to remember that. You don't have to bowl everybody over with. It's nice to do that too. It's fun to do that, of course. But you can just pick out these little passages like that really make a song.
Yeah.
Or any kind of art, like an artist doing a painting. Sometimes you look at some painting, a Monet painting or something, and even though you see the whole thing, you see some little thing that you really dig in the corner.
Yeah. Little
And
dot
that's
even.
what makes the painting for you as who you are.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's been a long haul for Jim and I started playing 1971 with Jim and Bill and Joe, and so 54 years now. But with you guys have really come on strong.
Oh yeah, this is the
and you know, we
primo
got,
version of the band.
and now with Claire especially, somebody can sing the high harmonies because Jim and I used to
God.
sing the high harmonies.
We
but
used
our
to sing
voices have
those, you know,
changed.
years ago.
So we can actually do the
voices
4-part
change.
stuff, which to me is my favorite times performing are when the 4 of us are all singing together in 4-part harmony and with some strong rhythmical song, you know, like Fight On or Wayfaring Stranger or Bonnie Heelan Laddie, where we're all, it's really a powerful thing. It's the old cliche, the sum of the parts is greater than, you know, whatever that thing is. I don't know what it is. I can never get that straight. But it becomes larger than itself. It becomes larger than life. And when the audience is tuned into it as well, and they're feeling it, and you get the thing going back and forth, the energy going back and forth with the audience. To me, that's my favorite part of playing music, of performing music.
Yeah.
You know, to get that feeling, and it's hard to get. It's very elusive, but every once in a while you get that, and it's like, wow, that's really great. Just that feeling that you get. You know,
That's the best
That's what
feeling.
I'm always striving for, anyways. You know,
Yeah.
when we're playing. So,
How about you, Claire? Do you feel it too?
Oh yeah, like I said before, like that circle of connection there, and even just spotting some people in the audience, like being touched, and also it's like when people are listening in the audience, they could show it in different ways. Dad has a million stories that could be a whole other podcast episode
Yeah,
of
right.
Maybe some people who on their face, like they might be more closed mouth, like not looking up too much, but they're really listening.
Yeah.
And so you really just never know who is in the audience and how much it means to them.
Well, I heard Tony Bennett say once on a radio
Yeah.
interview some years back about audiences, I believe it was Tony Bennett who said it, that the audience is a lot smarter than you think they are,
Yeah, he said that in his book,
you know?
The Zen of
So
Bennett.
you treat them like that. You don't treat them like, hey, I'm going to show you guys something here.
Yeah.
They know, they're a lot more into it than you think. I mean, I go back to the quick story about the one night we were playing, this is 20 years ago, I don't know when, some club, and we were just on top of it, man. The audience was going nuts. And I'm not trying to brag. I mean, sometimes the audience doesn't go nuts. Anyway, they're all going crazy. Yeah, yeah. But I look over, there's this one guy sitting there, and he's just looking right at me with this dirty look on his face, like, not applauding after the songs. And therefore, as an entertainer, as a performer, you're trying to get that person to do something. And he just would not do anything. So we did the whole set. And so after the set's over, I get off stage, and all of a sudden this guy gets up and starts walking up to me with this look on his face. I mean, here we go, get ready. Not that it's going to happen like that. But this guy walks up to me and goes, "That was the best music performance I've ever heard in my life. Thank you so much." And walked away. And here I thought he was going to say, "You guys really sound like shit." So that's why you could never judge by when you look out to people's reactions. You, as a performer, you're as a human, you're expecting immediate reaction to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that in life. With anything you do, when you're talking to somebody, you expect them to react immediately to it. Yes, you're right, Jim. But it's not like that. It takes a while, and you can't judge other people like that. So that was the lesson I learned.
Yeah.
So you've been together in a group so you joined the band in 71, Dad?
Yeah.
Say officially?
yeah.
I still consider Mike one of the newer members.
Yeah, I just joined 54 years ago. Just recently.
So, like, do you have any advice for bands on how to stay together longer? Because a lot of these bands, I don't know, I'll just watch. I saw, some band, I'm not going to say any band's name, but they don't, but they break up or they don't stick together.
We got to be in bands with your brothers for starters.
Yeah, right. It helps a lot.
But like I said earlier, a lot of it was we grew up listening to the same kind of music and the same, same tastes in music, and through the years, everybody knows their role in the group, what they need to do, how to fit in and everything like that, and everybody kind of and you respect each other. You've got to respect each
that's
other's.
a great word, respect.
You got to respect each other's opinion. Say, yeah, that's a great song, but we're not going to do it. No, I'm just kidding. But that's a lot of it too.
That, and you don't. It's like a relationship. Couples, don't let things fester. If there's something that's starting to bug you, get it out in the open as soon as you can. And then, you don't come out and gangbusters like punching, but if something, don't let things build up, resentments, that, because that's when it starts getting weird. If you can keep that stuff out in the open, and it's hard. That's hard to do. You can't. Of course, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You've got to keep things in the open. And as Mike was saying, with respect and the chemistry, you got to let the chemistry happen. If there's no chemistry, then you're not in the band. But everybody in the band has to be it's unless it's so and so and the da-da. But if it's the Dooley Band, then it's the band. Everybody is as important as everybody else.
You have to band together.
Band to God.
Which brings us to our latest album.
Yeah, the new album, which
putting together, and everybody's contributed ideas to it, and what songs they want to do, and
you
been
guys want to
featured
listen,
on it.
you want to listen to one of the songs real quick?
Yeah,
Just listen to do a little sample of Wayfaring Stranger.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Just listen to that.
Crank it.
So really, this one really gets people going at, I've noticed
gets me going.
when we play it live.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
listen to a little sampling. Yeah, it's such a powerful. For some reason, the downbeat, how we perform it is just really.
It's really cathartic to play, to sing.
Yeah, it's a fun one to play. But in Uncle Jim, I wanted to ask you, when you're thinking about new songs to play, how do you come up with new songs to play?
What do you mean, just to do?
Yeah, if you're thinking, well, maybe we could perform this song, where do you find
Well, as
them?
far as what the band goes, you think of, gee, that would be a good song for us to. You just think that, there's certain ones I've always wanted to do, maybe, and never done them, or we used to do. And I go, hey, I think we could do it with the four of us. I mean, that's when we come up with stuff. I can speak more for Claire, obviously she's my daughter, that I hear some song and I go, wow, always wanted to do that song, but I don't have a female voice, so I can't do it or something,
Yeah.
So, and then I go, hey, have Claire do it.
Yeah,
Like,
Mashke Nada, Little White Road. Those lyrics are so cool.
Yeah, the Little White Road, that just came up, and I've always kind of liked that song. I always thought it was a mystical, winsome song about life, and but I thought, yeah, I could sing it, but then I thought, I wonder if Claire could sing it, and some need.
Yeah.
And I love the guitar. There's certain songs when you play them, you really love when you're playing guitar or when you're singing, you just love it. It just fits you, and that picking part, I just really enjoy it every time I play it.
That's also on the album.
Oh, that's on the new album.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
What song are you most pumped for the album? Or what's a song you really enjoyed creating for the album?
Well, all of them, but I really enjoyed Blue Skies, just recording that. Our friend, musician, friend Dave Bennett, he's a brilliant clarinetist. We met him at the Bix Fest. Yeah, he's great, and so he came on to recording Blue Skies, and Dad on guitar too. It's just I really have been enjoying jazz. The past couple years.
Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Ella Fitzgerald. She's the queen. So yeah, I've been listening to a lot of that, and so yeah, it felt great to for years of listening to all these songs, especially like jazz and stuff too. It was great to sort of give it my own voice. And I'm sure everyone here, you can relate to that.
Well, Claire, you wanted to do a solo album. You told me the other day. What was it called? The male crooners.
Oh yeah, like me just doing like a crooner.
A crooner album.
Yeah.
Like
Claire's crooner classics, or it's just one idea.
Hey, that's
But yeah, so that was. How about you, Mick?
yeah, Mick. How about you on the album? What do you?
I mean, I think obviously Tennessee. We don't need Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
That's one of his songs.
I think that's the. It just came. I liked how it came together because I've really tried in the song to be, just to kind of let us develop it as a group too, and just see the touches that. I mean, I had the lyrics, but the solo is really nice on there. Really, really nice, and the harmonies sound great. So, I like doing that stuff.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, well, Actually, I like them all, but I thought Tennessee Whiskey came out better than we thought. There's always on an album, there's always a song that, geez, that came out better. We thought it was just going to be another song. But it was like Traveler's Tune on Black Sunshine. It was like, wow, that really came out in retrospect when you look at that stuff. But that song, I really like Wayfaring Stranger. I liked Fight On.
Yeah.
And I liked Bonnie Heelan Laddie.
They're all great.
I guess they're all those like harmony. Like I said, go back to those harmony ones where we're all singing a forceful, powerful.
What about those Jim instrumentals, those guitar instruments?
Those brilliant.
those ones?
Brilliant.
Are you kidding? No, I was kidding.
They really are, though. I cannot wrap my head around it whenever I hear my dad play, especially with these solo, instrumentals, and you layer them. But I'm not.
Yeah, they're
joking.
great. I was the one pushing those songs.
Yeah, I know. Mike's the guy that wanted me to do them.
We got throws on. What the heck?
One of the favorites I like on the album, I mean, obviously all of them, is the surprise hit for me was Nature Boy.
Yeah,
Mike,
that's
that's the best interpretation. I mean, the best thing you've done on all these years I've known you singing. That just came out. It's very simple and very short. Nat King Cole made that popular, that song. But that came out really neat. I thought the feeling of that, you have great feeling for it. So,
thank you.
Why?
Thank you, Jim.
Why? Thank you, John. So,
yeah, Nature Boy was.
I think the message in that song is more pertinent today than ever.
Oh yeah,
it's always it's always been.
Why don't we listen to like 30 seconds of that one?
Oh, do we have
Nature
it? Oh,
Boy?
wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
No, we had this one.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he.
Wow.
Wow, it's so good. I just want to keep listening to that. It's so
It's good.
Yeah, it came out. I like the kind of the way the guitar is too. It kind of makes you slow down and listen to it and just listen to the lyrics, which are incredible.
Yeah, it's a good song. Good song.
So yeah, that's coming out. We don't have a date set for that yet.
It's getting
Coming
to the end.
soon.
We're getting close to finishing.
but
We'll
it should be
Record one more song.
We're just going, one more song, one more song.
one more
Let's do one
song.
more. Hey, man.
No, we'll get that out.
And then they have to tie me up and keep me away from it. I just want to hear this one little guitar part,
I was
man.
just gonna
please.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
They have to
Yeah,
push me on. No, you've done enough.
It's fun though
That's
when
my
you do
mom's
that.
famous. My mom was an artist and her sister, and they were commercial artists back in the 30s. And my mom was a very meticulous, always doing some of the paintings. And Mary and her sister would come up behind her at some point and tap her on the shoulder and say, "You're done. That's it. Stop." Because with painting, with recording music,
Writing books.
writing
books.
there's a certain time where you go. It's actually a statement in time anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
you
got to
have to
stop.
have a
You can work
balance.
on something forever.
So true. Yeah, I've told myself that I've a couple books I'm working on. It's like when it starts to seem worse, you start changing things, and you're not sure if it's making it better or worse. That's my rule of thumb. And then like, okay, I'm done.
It's like my brother Dennis is a writer. He's written some books, and he's been working on this Bix Beiderbecke book for years, the year 1927. And it's one of these things I keep on telling him, Dennis, just stop, and you're done. You've done it, man. He says, no,
God, I
I
wish he
want to
would
get
publish
into
that.
the
It's
aspects.
his life's work.
I say, man, you can keep on going with it.
The problem with that is you don't want it to end because
Well, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things he
you're
doesn't
enjoying
want.
the act of doing it.
Yeah, he's enjoying
But
doing
getting
it,
back
so.
to the album, it's kind of an interesting concept that we have. Jim unearthed some recordings from back in the 70s and 80s and 90s
90s.
that we're going to throw on there as well. And
Yeah.
as we've also been recording things with the four of us, but we got some other ones. So it's going to be
Well, because my future
Through
solo
the
album,
years.
which I've been
Yeah,
and it works for 30 years. Yeah,
kind
it works.
of a through the years, as Jim says, the tree of music,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
or the evolution of the Dooley Band. There's a lot of different. Mick, what was your title for the
Echoes of the Past.
Echoes of the Past?
yeah,
that
that's
one.
good too. I like that.
That's good. Claire, what do you say?
Yeah, mine was the tree of life, tree of music.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what we're going to be coming out with.
Yeah.
Should be
Maybe
good.
we can do
cool.
Tree of Music, parentheses, Echoes of the Past.
No. Well, that
Double parentheses, the evolution of the Dooley Band.
And then show these little figures like of
Yeah,
something coming out of the water, and then, a
crawling.
little ukulele, and then an ape with a guitar, and then, getting up to
All
with a
great
club,
ideas.
caveman.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got to get that solo album going, Uncle Jim.
Yeah.
That, I saw the Bluebird Bossa Nova that was on there. I don't know if that was the name if you had just
Yeah,
given it
something
that
like
name.
that. Yeah,
But
the
if
name
those-
was evolving.
the name's evolving. Bluebird
Evolution.
Returns or something. I don't know.
yeah, I remember so when I lived in Galesburg in 2020 and I bought that house, you had given me that CD right around then, and I had bought my car. It's a 2017 model specifically so that it has a CD player, so that I can listen to the CDs that you guys give to me. And I remember I would just drive like that fall. I was like driving around, listening to that. All those
Oh, cool.
it's got that's like that's a good name for it though, because you could tell it has the bossa nova influence, but it's
Yeah,
like, it's like American bossa nova or something.
yeah, very influenced by bossa nova. One of my favorite kinds of music for sure.
Yeah.
Joe Beam is a genius. They call him the Gershwin of Brazil, of South
Yeah,
America.
Joe Beam. Well, we have the album coming out soon, but we can, I guess, wrap up. I have one final question. I just want to ask you guys just to put out there, keep the circle of life, the tree of music going here. And that question is, what advice would you give to a smart, driven musician who is just starting out, and maybe even what advice should they ignore?
I think they should think about becoming an engineer. And
Oh, come on.
no, I think I've always thought the most important thing with music. Yeah, it's good being technically brilliant and everything like that, but one of the there's a lot of important things is to listen. To start out by listening. And Jim, I think you even told me this when I was learning bass. You said,
I'm still telling you this.
yeah,
No,
you're still advising me. But when you listen to a song, a record or whatever, tap your foot to the beat and get into the habit of doing that. I think that's so important because a lot of musicians, their tempo is all over the place. You got, and me being
That's
a bass
me.
player, right? I had to have the regular tempo. But I think the most important thing with music, I think, is I always say any schmuck can play all the right notes that you have to play, but to put the feeling into it, that is the hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're always trying to learn how to do. You can play everything totally right, technically perfect, but if it doesn't have any feeling to it, it's kind of meaningless, actually. It's just like a musical exercise of playing scales or something.
Yeah, what is that? Sometimes you just hear a song and it's so simple, but it's like you go, wow, even though it doesn't have anything complicated about it.
Right. Or it doesn't have to be perfect,
Yeah, that too.
So that's what I would say to try, to do that. So
Wow, you
Jim,
said it all
what do you
right
have
there.
to say?
Well, I always go back to the story of this famous jazz pianist, Joe Vito from Chicago. If some musicians listening, you know who he is. He was a real character. And one time he was in this high school seminar where he's going on for 60 minutes. There were all these upcoming musicians wanting to know how to get into music. And so we did a 60-minute thing. And at the end of it, he said, now, after this 60-minute session, if I have convinced just one of you not to become a musician. I always like that story. But yeah, you gotta, if you're thinking about having a band playing publicly, you've also got to realize that there's a lot more. I mean, that is obviously the main thing is the band, but there's a lot of things like promotion, dedication to getting the band out there, and business. You got to know all that stuff. It's not just about. It's beautiful to get there on stage. People always go, boy, you must be so nice. All you do is walk up there for 40 minutes and playing, then you get all this money. But it's so much more. It's a full-time thing. That's why they have
It's a lifestyle.
agents and that.
Yeah.
But when you're starting, you don't have to have all that stuff, you know. But yeah, so I think I would say that, and just be yourself, and believe in yourself, and the sky's the limit. Even though it's like it's unrealistic, you're going to go out and make $1 zillion right off the bat or something, or whatever you're looking for doing. But this, you can be whatever you want, and you should stick with that. Stick with what you want to do.
Well, I always thought, Uncle Jim, you told me a story one time. I think you said you went to some high school reunion, and you met some of your high school students or former classmates,
Yeah.
and who had done the corporate thing, and you could tell talking to them, maybe they had had a thought to be a musician or some kind of artist at some point in their lives, and then they were like, they just didn't do it, and then they kind of, wow, you did it, man. You spent your life, dedicated it to music. You didn't have to go into a 9 to 5 for a lot of your life. And I think there's sort of like an honor in that, but it's also there's like challenging parts about it in a different way.
Yeah, it's like any artist is going to go through that. It's a different kind of life. I mean, I had a lot of 9 to 5 jobs for many years, I've been around, but I retired from all that in about 1977. I always tell people, when did you retire? Oh, 77, I think is the Tribune.
And then,
but no, you got to you're going to take a lot, from some people, you're going to take a lot of, from doing this. And unless, art is not a funny thing. It's a funny thing but it's not about, it's great if you make a lot of money, but that's not what art is. And that's where the comes in, because some people, even though they say that they're all for what you're doing, you have a different mindset than most people, for better or for worse. A lot of times for worse. You don't have a business mind. A lot of people don't have business minds if you're an artist, because you're not thinking of that. You're thinking of, creating music is different than walking in, and I'm not putting the other side down, but I'm just wired differently. But it's, not walking into a company and going and working, which is a great thing too, and it has to be like that. Creating is, you're in some different odd place, but you must remain true to that. Be true to yourself, what you want to do, and you will be a lot happier in life if you do that. Unless if that's what all you want to do is make a lot of money and stuff, that's a different story,
I think you have to want to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Once you start having fun with it, it's forget it. So I enjoy performing, and it's with you guys especially, and that's really a lot of fun. But some of my favorite times playing music are just sitting around a living room, playing songs that you're never going to perform, that you're just playing because you like the song. I get more pleasure out of doing that than. And
the performing part too is like the most beautiful thing about it is you're actually making people. You have an effect on people. Some people, a lot of people, hopefully, of enjoying what you're doing, and you're contributing something to this world of looking at life a certain way and enjoying life, and that's appreciative, and that's, for us, that's great when you see that somebody is actually enjoying what you're doing and coming back into it. They're helping you create.
Well, that's the whole thing about entertaining, is you get your mind off your problems. Everybody's got problems.
Yeah.
Everybody has troubles. But a good entertainer will get your mind off that and be thinking about other things. And, that's what I enjoy doing that too, for people and hopefully, and for me too. I forget about my
And there's something in the psyche of the audience when they're into it, they're helping you create. They're also, and they are creating by doing that. So it's a big circle. You can feel that some nights. It's not, I wish it was every night, but it's not like that. It's like that a lot. But, you get the circle going, the rapport going, and that's what it's all about.
Well, it's almost like a tribal thing of like just having everyone together and having live music. And I saw a study recently that was like, why do people love going to concerts, or like people might meet someone at a concert, meet someone they're going to date. And apparently everyone's brainwaves sync when they're even at like a big concert, think about that. They're all, because we're all having a collective experience and listening to the same thing. Even like you described the record, like sitting around and listening to the same record players or same songs on the record player. It's like now these days, I mean, I think to an extreme, everyone is on their phone, has a ton of screen time every day, and they're not having a necessarily collective experience. And to me, one of the reasons I love to continue to do music, and it's similar to what you guys said, it's like it's one of the last great collective experiences where everyone is kind of on the same page. If you're at a concert and you're listening to it, even if you could be on your phone a little bit, but you're actually probably more engaged in the music if it's good.
Yeah.
And it's just, in my opinion, it's like an important thing for society and people, and we need to keep it going, Claire.
Yeah.
Just keep the live music going.
Yeah.
I think, and even the last few years too, guys might not know this, but the like folk music is number one. Country folk. I mean, it's one of the same these days, but it's just interesting to see that sort of old-fashioned-y type of style in some form is becoming more popular again.
Cool. Yeah, so it's always fascinating how these things go through curves and waves, all these different kinds of music. It's great.
Well, there's a lot more humanity to folk music than all electronic and all that type of stuff. That's all fun, and I like listening to that too.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things about music I always thought, and it's one of the things that brings some order to our chaotic world. Because there's all kinds of stuff. You go out in traffic, it's chaos everywhere. But when you sit and listen to music, it all the notes and everything, it's arranged in such a way that it brings order to the world, and it soothes you that way.
Yeah.
So that's one of the good things about music and playing it too, playing it for people.
Yeah, basically too, and if you notice with popular music, especially, there's a certain time limit of it, 3-4 minutes. I mean, there's exceptions. There's a lot of other kind, and that all started from when they were first cutting. They only had a certain amount of time on a 78 that they could record, 3 minutes and 21 seconds or something. So that's how that kind of evolved from there. But even nowadays, it's still the same. Songs are pretty much basically set up the same way. But that also, I think, is for your mind, your attention span, or whatever you might want to call it. It just fits like that because here comes the last verse. I mean, everybody knows that when you're listening to songs, you can tell that stuff. And I think it's compartmentalized just the right fit for people's attention span and mind to do it.
Yeah. Claire, do you have any
What are we
advice
talking about?
for
No,
younger musicians, by the way?
Well, being a younger musician, I'm still, kind of learning and everything. And obviously it's like, I can't even put into words how much, it means to me that I get to do this with my family and just listening to all the stories, from my dad, my Uncle Mike especially, and all of our relatives really, but just the fact that music really has brought us all together. And it's such a great form of bond and connection. And, it really is the universal language, and they say that for a reason. So yeah, so I'm still learning every day, especially from my dad. I'm, still learning. And, but yeah, I would definitely just recommend to be as present as you can, in terms of being a musician, and especially when performing, just like really take a second to just like look around, and to really enjoy. And, not every performance is easy or whatever. And it's sometimes difficult to sing a song in terms of it being technical, or maybe something is more emotionally heavy, and it's hard. It can be very hard, but just to take a moment to really kind of like right here, right now, just to be present in that way and to just really be in it. And so music is the way that I do that. It's how I'm present for sure. So yeah, I would say I would recommend that to a fellow young musician.
Well, Mick, do you have anything to wrap up as far as any final thoughts on your end?
any final thoughts? I pretty much said everything. Said a lot. I was going to tell Uncle Jim earlier that I was going to say the thing about that actually that resonated with me about let your own soul kind of show on the song and just do it the way that you're going to do it. I think I sometimes struggle with that, trying to do it in some preconceived way as opposed to just, just doing it and then letting it go however that, it's meant to be.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really cool
that's
thing.
the easiest and
Cool
the
way.
hardest thing to do.
That was a cool way. I'd never heard it put quite that way. So that was like, I'll be thinking about that tonight. But no,
Think about that all the time.
the only last thing. So, Claire, where can everyone find us if they want to follow us on social media and on the internet?
Yeah, so in terms of social media, you can follow us on Instagram. So you can follow us. It's at Dooley Band. Our
We really need
Facebook-
to get a TikTok going. Don't
Oh
we?
yeah, we do. Our songs are on TikTok. Like I've seen some people make
because
videos.
you know
with
what? Because they're on
TikToks.
CD Baby and they
Yeah.
put them on.
This is technical, but
That's super interesting. Well, we'll have to get on TikTok.
But yeah.
What's TikTok?
oh. So
have
it's
you ever heard of
basically
You guys are.
Yeah, I've got a TikTok on my rig.
oh no, it's TikTok time
You
to
guys
go.
are lucky you don't have to deal with
Yeah.
TikTok. It's destroying everyone's attention spans, mine included.
Anyway, if you're seeing this
What-
on TikTok,
what were you
keep
saying?
watching it.
No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, so
It's called the TikTok.
Yeah, the
actually.
TikTok. Our Facebook is the Dooley Band. So yeah, follow us Instagram, Facebook, and our website is www.dooleybrothers.com. We still have
And the
Dooley
reason
Brothers.
it's Dooley Brothers is because that's when we originally established and got the domain name and got it all established as Dooley Brothers. So
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
called the Dooley Brothers before, it's 20 years
Yeah.
ago, 30 years ago or whatever.
So yeah, you could listen to our songs on Spotify, Apple Music.
So yeah, Spotify is the
Yeah.
Dooley Brothers. Probably going to be the Dooley Band for the next album, but
Just to
It's,
confuse everybody. Names.
that's how it goes. But all right, well, thanks for coming, everyone. This was
Thank
really
you,
great.
Mickey.
Thanks
Our
for
pleasure,
Yeah.
boys.
do it again
taking
sometime.
part, guys.
Yeah, this was great.